This video is brought to you in part by Rickard Art. Rickard Art designs packaging, logos, posters, invitations, and more. He also does murals for your home or business. Check him out at rickard-art.com. Okay, hey, look at that. I remembered to turn on the microphone. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, at least I remembered. So, it's day 5. 6. Day 6. It's day 6. That's right. And we're here in the new studio space. And it still needs some work, right? But I also need to get to work doing this stuff. And, well, not the Camtasia stuff. That's from last night. Day 4 is now up and running. And yes, it's day 6. Which I'm going to upload day 5 here in a second. That's why it's up. Yes, this is day 5 at the top. Yay! So anyway, this is day 6 and it's Monday. It's August 7th. And we're going to start working on the game again. That's right. We're going to work on the game. That's exciting. And, you know, I was talking to the wife last night, trying to bounce some stuff off of her. And I just kept thinking, like, I'm going to be brutally honest here. I'm not excited to be working on the game. I'm not. Now, I don't know if that's because there is so much work that needs to be done. Like, there's so much work. And when I say that generally. It's not just on the game. I mean, I still got a ton of work in here. I don't actually have a workbench. I don't. It's that piece of MDF is sitting out in the garage right now. So everything's sitting on the metal grates right now. I have metal grates, metal shelving I need to box back up to take back to Home Depot. I've got other parts of desk from the Glance system from IKEA from years ago. I still think that's better than what they're selling today. But I must say, I did find a really, really nice, almost an art table setup. And it's if I didn't have the $400 stand already for this antique, I might spend, gosh, how much was it? I think it was $130, and that's the tabletop, the legs, and it's fully like height adjustable and tilt adjustable as well. And I probably would take take that tabletop and cut a big fat square in it and plop this guy down in there, just to like have a dedicated drawing table. But again, I've got the $400 stand from Wacom, and that's gonna do the trick there. So anyway, getting back to the work thing, yeah, I have a lot of work to do, just a ton of work on the house. I have to get done here by December. I have to finish I have one room that I would say is about 80% done, 70% done. Another room that's like 40% done, and another room that's like 40% done, and then another room that's like 10% done. Oh, and I got one more room that's like 30% done. So I have a lot of rooms that need to be done. And wow, we're already August 7th. So we'll say we're still in the first week of, like, the very end of the first week. So let's just say August counts as one. So September, October, November, December. I have 4 months to complete those rooms, because one of the things that really affected me stress-wise was back when I was employed for 10 years, was the fact that when I was working the job, you know, I'd work the job, right? well, 9 hours a day, come home, and we had a kid then, but he would take up that time, which is fine. I'm not saying anything's wrong with that, but it would, spend time with him, spend time with the wife till 8-ish, 9-ish, because she would want to go to bed because she gets up at the ass crack of dawn. And then whatever time I had left. So I tried to go to bed by 1 or 2 o'clock. And so that would give me 4 or 5 hours a night. And I would try to fit this in. I would try to fit as much as I could, but most of the time I was exhausted after just a few hours of working on it. And so that didn't work out so well. And then I would work on the weekends on the house. I felt like I could never get anything done. And now I've not been working for a year. In 5 days, it'll be officially 1 year that since I was let go from my job. And a lot of that has been, I've gotten a lot of stuff not done, but worked on. I've gone further on a lot of things that I have, because the problem is I can't make a decision to save my life. I redid floors multiple times, and I think I finally found what I wanted, which I've talked about in an earlier video. So great, hopefully that is it. Then the baseboards, I have replaced the 1990s standard 3.5, 3.25 baseboard, and I originally done that with a 6-inch baseboard that had, a decorative bevel, of a design. And then we liked the wainscoting that uses the standard grid pattern. And so, of course, the baseboards that I installed all throughout the most of the first floor, no, I would say half of the first floor, those were like $20 a pop. And I'm going to be removing those. Now I'm going to try to remove them carefully, and I'll probably use them upstairs in as many bedrooms as I can. That way it's, not wasted. But then, and I'm sorry I'm looking off camera, I'm looking at my boxes, and I'm not going to tilt the camera. I would, but I probably won't line this up right again. So yeah, I just I got that, and then I'm having second thoughts about the kitchen cabinets we got. It's just like, oh my gosh, I worry so much, and I think it's because if it wasn't so much money, I wouldn't freak out so much about making the right or wrong decision. It'd just be like, oh darn, I made that wrong decision. Well, let's go do this. Instead, it's thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars that are in play. And it's like, oh my God, I really don't want to make that mistake. I don't want to make that mistake. So that's where I find myself, constantly changing my mind. Because it's like, oh man, I don't want to make that mistake. So it's just like the system here. I loved my Mac Pro. Like, I loved it. And right now I wish I had it because of the editing. Not editing, the rendering. The editing is fine. Well, for the most part. Because I did temporarily own a 34-inch ultra-wide monitor, which was fantastic. But it cost way too damn much. But it was like awesome. It was the best, right? So I wanted it, but then I had to justify the fact that new processors, new machines were coming out. I no longer have my Mac Pro, and I'm back down to a single CPU 4-core processor, and it's painful to render these videos instead of having the 12-core. That wouldn't take hardly any time at all. So I turned that stuff, went after the Skylake X, and then everything came out that it was hot as hell. Just the Skylake was hot as hell, and so it was like, okay, take that back. And then got Ryzen, and Ryzen 7. The multi-core performance was okay. It was good for the price, but it was like, I want the single core and I want the multi-core. Now Skylake X came close to that, but everyone kept saying Threadripper, 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 and I'm just like, all right, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to take the Skylake X back, and I'm going to wait because I'm going to start transitioning in the new studio space. So I have time to kill. And it comes out in 3 days. Threadripper launches on Thursday, August 10th. And so far, from the reviews that I've seen coming out, now today might be the day that they lift the embargo on reviews, but the sheer numbers of the 1950X Threadripper versus the same price of the 10-core Intel, and so it's 16 core versus 10 core Intel, and it just wipes the floor with Intel at the same cost. And Linus Tech Tips, he did a preview review of Threadripper running in an Alienware system, and he said like the motherboard wasn't as good, the lack of RAM, DIMM slots, things like that were kind of like holding the system back from what it could really be. And so when I saw, I'm doing a video. So when I'm talking to my iPhone. So let me stop for a second here. Oh, I need to answer that. That's a message, important message. Anyway, so when I saw the video, he was doing reviews, when he did the review, he actually did run some benchmarks. And from what I can tell, the multi-core is through the roof, which we already expected. But then looking at like even just standard game review of like he ran benchmarks for games. Not that many. He said, oh, this is just a preview, because nobody's had really a chance to go in and optimize for Threadripper. And so just looking at the benchmarks for what he already had, and I'm like, oh, thank you. I'm so glad I returned those processors, because it looks like I am going to get my... It's not as good as like Kaby Lake. It's not, because the megahertz, the gigahertz is so much higher that it's getting a faster 4-core performance. But the Threadripper 4-core at 4 gigahertz is still up there. I mean, you know, you got your bars, but you know, Kaby Lake's this much further, but you know, Threadripper's right here. It's like, it's right there. It's not far off. And I wouldn't even imagine trying to overclock this damn thing. There's no reason to overclock this thing, because if you're using it for content creation, such as 3D modeling, video rendering, 3D rendering, animation, things like that, this looks like it's the real deal. AMD has finally come back like 6 years later after Bulldozer and given us an amazing product. Now, this is before, I mean, this is before NDAs. The real reviews have not been revealed yet, but when you see Cinebench and it delivers consistently 2800-ish, you know, as a performance score, and I know that when AMD released it and they got 3000 plus, that they were probably like overclocking a little bit, or they took the most far superior die cut and used that. But yeah, 2800 consistent, and that's without optimizations, and those are going to be coming, and that just means it's going to only get better. So I've been, the machine I had, the Mac Pro I had before, it was like expensive. 12 core, 64 gigs of RAM, just all that fun stuff. And at the time, it was the 5770 ATI card. That was $3,000 plus computer. Now, luckily, I already have the video card. I don't need something stupid, although I'll get to that in a second. So I just need, I'll probably need a new power supply because everyone is saying like they're using 1200 power supplies. Hell, the Dell Alienware, the Alienware one was using 1500, which was stupid. But, even the power supply AMD provided to the reviewers was 1200. And I'm like, oh, so I might have to get a newer one. We'll just have to wait and see. But, I only need to replace the board, the processor, the fan, obviously, which I'm considering air cooling simply because I don't want to even take the chance of the AIO liquid cooler to leak on the board and RAM. Now, motherboard, CPU, fan, and RAM, it's going to be $2,000. So I have stuff, right? I don't know why that hasn't gone off. There we go. I have stuff. I have the case. I have the video card. Power supply is probably going to be $150, something like that. So right around $2,000. Now, after all is said and done, your case, your hard drives, things like that, if you go all out, you could get up there near the Mac Pro. I get 64 gigs of RAM, which is, I could see it being used eventually, a few years, but 32 is fine for now, and it's got quad channel, so maybe 64 right off the bat would probably be best. I don't know, but I can still get underneath that original Mac Pro cost. I can do it, but I only need to spend $2,000 right now. And I look at that as an investment. I mean, again, the videos I'm taking are taking hours. These videos right here are taking hours to render on this 3770K. And that's because it's not a multi-core processor built for that kind of work. Threadripper is, and it would rip through that stuff without issue. But my 3D rendering, 3D modeling, 3D animation, all that stuff, like I can't wait to see ZBrush. I mean, you probably wouldn't even be able to tell. You just keep adding, millions and millions of polygons, and it'd be like, okay, and so I look at it as beneficial to invest that amount of money, especially since the Mac Pro I was still using just a few months ago, and it was still doing okay. Don't get me wrong. If I was just doing like video editing and stuff, and if I wasn't going into doing this heavy Unreal Engine game development, where I was starting to see some hitches, which is why I wanted to upgrade, I would have kept it. It was fine. But guess what? It was 7 years old. Yes, because I bought such a high-powered machine from 2010, it was lasting 7 years. And that's what I'm looking at right now. An investment, okay? This Threadripper is a badass platform that is an investment for years to come. And sure, they're going to come up with something better a year from now. Sure, they're 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, 5 years from now, and I can look at upgrading to those at the time. But here now in 2017, I'm sorry, Intel, you lost. There's just no way you can come back. And you're saying you're coming out with 16 core, 18 core Skylake X, that's fine, but it's going to be so far out of the price range of us content creators that don't work for Pixar or Disney or any of those companies that we can't afford your machines, but we can afford AMD's. And AMD has a very, 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 very nice product now. So, I know I was coming full circle on this for some reason. So looking to be upgrading the equipment here. soon. I want the embargo to lift. I want to see people's reviews. I want to see system board reviews. And then that leaves me to upgrade the machine, which will, that's fine. But so I have just all this work. I still have, oh my gosh, I'm not even showing you here, but there is just a bunch of work just pot outside the door here, and it's got to be done. It's got to be done. And so I need to find the balance, right, to do all this. And that's what I was talking to the wife about. I said, first of all, I have less than 2 months now to have something ready to show at GDEX. And I said, I've been modeling, he's been modeled, the character, the pilot. He's been modeled, and, he just needs additional modeling now, But I keep looking at him just like, ugh, something's wrong. But is it just me? Again, like I said in a previous video, I can always just say, done, we're done here, and get him in the game. We can worry about fixing him later, right? Yeah, because if we do Kickstarter, then we can maybe get a couple of artists and programmers on, and we can, flush it all out. But just getting something in there and getting it up and running in time for GDEX is important. Now, I told her, I said, my big thing is getting the controller, the character controller working inside of Unreal. I said, nothing. It doesn't matter how good it is. If it looks like crap with him running around, it's just not going to work. And so what that means is him running around, I see him wanting to slide, like an actual slide, and he slides down, gets up, and he's next to something. So if there's a car and he's back here behind another car, I want him to, dash and then slide and then get up against the car. That's what I want. I want this, what is it? Hyper real? No, hyper real is just another way of saying photorealistic. I just want this, basically what cartoons, Disney, Pixar movies do, where it's like, okay, in real life, if they tried sliding on concrete or asphalt or whatever, it would hurt, and they would go like maybe a few inches. No, here, they slide on the ground, like, gravel kicks up, and, they land, and they look cool with their gun out and stuff like that. That's what I want. I want this to be, fun, when you say, vault over the car from a crouch, I want him to stand up, lean on the car, put his other foot up, and go over the car. That's what I want. And that's what I need to work towards. And I think working for the next 3 weeks, trying to build this up, because just getting, I could probably go out and get some standard buildings, set them all up, things like that, and create, maybe I could use robots. Maybe there won't be any guys in the demo just because of how quick it is. But I want people to play it. I want them to feel the character controls and just be like, wow, man, this guy moves awesome. This guy's great. I like shooting. I wish there were people. I wish there were other things to do. But shooting these robots coming at me, little flying machines, that would be like 1950 style. I'd do like some kind of weird, futuristic, for the time, steampunk, maybe not steampunk in the sense of steampunk, just like gyrocopters made by people with 1940, 50 mentality. They would, all these gears in there, and you have to wind them up, and maybe they run so long on the, wind up power or something like that. But I don't know. Again, just hashing things out. So yes, that is where I'm at as far as What I'm going to work on for the next however many weeks it takes in Unreal is getting the character controller to work. That's it. That's all I'm doing. Once I have it where he can run up to objects, duck behind them, vault over them, run and jump on stuff, you know, pull himself up, climb over a tank, you know, once I have that, I will feel confident that the rest of the game will be fine. That's all that matters right now. I'm just stressing it. Man, I just got the burps all of a sudden. Or not burps, hiccups. That is what I'm stressing, is that the character controller is of the utmost importance. Character interaction is of the utmost importance. And that's what I'm going to be working on. And so let's get started. Oh, that seemed like a little abrupt. Yeah, so anyway, I'm going to be battling with trying to find time to work on this stuff, finding time to work on this stuff, trying to stay awake while I'm trying to learn, because some of these tutorials, and that's the thing, like trying to find, like, you want this nice tutorial series to show you how to do all this stuff, but it's almost like they take you for granted, like you should know how to do this stuff. Yeah, and I'm just like, no, I don't know how to do this stuff. I'm not a programmer. Let me stress that. I am not a programmer at all. And so the programming stuff I'm doing inside Unreal is all visual scripting. And it's basically, I'm not writing any code whatsoever. Unreal's doing it for me. Like if I say add a Boolean, it's doing all the C++ scripting in the background. And I'm simply typing out, is character on ladder? True or false? So that's the Boolean. I'm not literally writing bool and then the code. And I know enough about programming to get myself in trouble. And that's just, no, I don't do it. So anyway, that's why I'm doing it. Because like anything I do in Unity is also using state machines like Playmaker and their whole system. I would not write a damn lick of C# or Java. So, no. Or JavaScript. Sorry. So, anyway. That's what I'm going to work on while trying to find time to work on this. And that. And upstairs and everything. And spending time with the family. And all the stuff that goes with life. And again, you get to follow along as I ramble on in these videos. And decide whether I'm going to keep that camera. Wait a minute. What? Yes, I'm going to decide whether I keep this camera because this camera is being super handy right now. I can take it wherever I want, but there's two downfalls at this time. As I'm sure you guys have noticed in the videos, because this is it. I'm wrapping this video, part of this video up. I am using this a lot. Not only that, but the battery packs in the Lumix like drain. They just drain. And I'm actually thinking right now, I hope the battery's not dead on the mic. It's not. Yippee. So batteries drain on there. Now they say that you can get these power packs that plug into the battery socket on the camera that'll go into that convert it from DC to AC, and you can plug it in. Some people are swearing by those on YouTube, and then some people, like in the comments or other people, are saying, don't do it, it'll kill your camera. That's a good question, because Panasonic stopped making them. And people are even asking, well, Panasonic stopped making them, maybe it's not such a good idea. That's an excellent observation there. So this little bad boy will actually run on power and charge to 100% complete the whole time. When I was doing time lapse, which you saw on day 4 and 5, well, day 5, that time lapse was all recorded on here, and it was awesome. Like, it was so much more awesome than this, and that's probably just because I don't know what the hell I'm doing with time lapse on here, because it would take time to learn that stuff, and I'm really not taking time to learn anything. I hit time lapse on here, and it does it perfectly. And I mean perfectly. So what I'm what I've done is I've gone ahead and purchased a wide-angle clip-on lens, which is by a company that isn't being promoted on YouTube, by the way. The most of the lenses being promoted on YouTube by various review and tech sites is an Aukey lens, Aukey, that you can get on Amazon, and it's a clip-on lens, but it only has like 3.5 out of 5 stars and like 253 reviews. And I'm like, wow, okay, that's odd. And I'm looking through the list, and I find this like Zenpro, something like that, which I can show later when it arrives on Wednesday. But it actually is just the same thing, but it's got 4.5 out of 5 stars, so a whole star higher, and it's got over almost 600 reviews. So why aren't people talking about that? It's actually it's like $11 more. And it just makes me think, okay, so more people are reviewing the other one. More people are reviewing it higher. But everyone else is saying, get the other one. It doesn't make any sense. And I don't like that stuff, because a lot of it is YouTube being affiliated with Amazon and trying to push a product more. It's probably because Amazon's making more money, something like that. I don't affiliate at all as of right now. I don't endorse. I don't, well, I occasionally endorse, but I'm not in a partnership with anyone where I'm getting a kickback for promoting a product on here. I'm getting nothing. So anyway, that wide angle lens is just a clip on, and it clips on, and it sits right on top of where your camera lens is on your phone. And then the other thing is the audio sucks on here, as I'm sure you guys know. And so Rode, which is the guys that make the mic on the Lumix that I showed you guys before, they actually make a microphone for smartphones, and it's called the Rode VideoMic Me, M-E. And it just slips into the headphone jack, and it records a directional microphone. So I can have directional mic and a wide angle lens for less than $100 on the iPhone to record. And so that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at here's the quality of this. I've got lights and diffusers set up right now, and that's fine. I'm on a expensive camera. It can shoot 4K. This can shoot 4K. I did not know that my 6S Plus can shoot 4K. I don't know how good the quality is, and I'm sure it's some kind of software emulation to get it to go to 4K, but it can. And that was the big reason I wanted to get this camera was, yeah, sure, the quality is great and all, as you guys can see, but it also was more future-proofing. There you go. Now, I'm thinking I might return this simply because, one, I'm not making any money right now at all. Like, well, not at all. I'm getting around $20 for my Patreon every month. And I thank my loyal followers and fans and supporters on Patreon. And if you feel like you want to support me on my Patreon, please go to patreon.com/PapalottiGames, which I'm sure there's a link around here somewhere for that. And I really suck on my descriptions. I need to come up with like a standard format for my descriptions so everything's a lot easier. But anyway, that wraps up this, because I'm going to be waiting for that stuff to show up for the iPhone, and we'll do a lot more videos like that just to compare, because I think I'm running out of time to return this. So, all right, so I'm going to get started on the character controller and research and find out what I need to do to get up and running. So let's get started. A huge thanks goes out to our patrons, as this video and all the other videos in the series wouldn't be possible without you. Thank you. And speaking of patrons, this video series wouldn't be possible without the support and help from our Patreon. You can find our Patreon at patreon.com/PapalottiGames. You'll see on our Patreon that we update as much as possible with as much content as possible, hence the videos that you're watching. If you happen to stumble upon this video and you're not one of our patrons, come on by and become a patron today. Anyone who donates $1 or more will actually be able to play the game as soon as a build is ready. If you like this video, you know what to do. Subscribe to see more videos just like this by hitting that subscribe button. And thanks for watching.